Hi, I'm Gary. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. This is Feature Friday. Now this week I thought I'd go back and revisit the idea of the shops that really seem to make a difference to us as model makers. I've got some shout outs from you guys about local stores, but this is an online one, but it's new to me. I was only introduced to this a few weeks ago, although apparently it's been around for a year. Now the guy who runs it is called James Skiffins. You may already know him from the Model Officer website and his YouTube channel and his Facebook page, and also the Just Making Conversation podcast, and also the Saturday Night Crash live event. He does all of these in the spare time, not that there should be much after all of that. Apart from making models, he now has this online store. It's called SprueBox.co.uk, and it's different. It's very different to the regular big name store where you can just go and buy whatever you want. This is run by a proper enthusiast, and I wanted to know more about it. So a couple of nights ago, I caught up with James and we had a chat, and this is what we talked about. This is the recording of our conversation, and I started off by asking him why he set the place up and how long it had been running. But before we go any further, I do want to make it quite clear. I have received nothing for doing this, all right? No freebies, no free kits, no free paints, nothing. I'm talking about this because I genuinely believe SprueBox is a good place to buy your stuff from and a good place to engage with. You'll see why as the conversation develops. There's also a challenge I think everyone watching this should really have a go at. I know I'm going to have a go at. It's towards the end of the video. Do keep watching to check out that because it will blow your mind. Anyway, back to SprueBox.co.uk, and first of all I asked James why set up SprueBox and how long it had been going for.
So the inspiration behind SprueBox was purely a fact that I've always wanted to have a model shop, a physical shop, but as we all know, that's a really difficult trade to get into, very difficult to operate and make profit and survive, basically.
Yeah.
So and being completely finger on the touch with the modern world, not um, a website seemed to be the right way to go about to link in with all the other things in which we do. So SprueBox was born just under a year ago now. It's coming up for its first anniversary. We've not done an awful lot. We've been very low key, purely because of the way it's set up and the way in which I want to build it in the future. The reason for me doing it was because I am 50 years old and sat there one day in the garden in the sunshine thinking, it's something I always wanted to do, along with lots of other things on the bucket list. What's stopping me? And I realized that nothing was really stopping me. There was every reason for me to do it. But obviously finance would be the big problem. So rather than going all guns blazing and I'm going to be the best, biggest ever operator there is in the world, I set it up low key on purpose to build in a momentum way, hopefully, where we deliver something to the community that's a little bit different. It's not going to be the normal model shop online experience. And yeah, that's the reason really, is that I just thought, why not? So yeah, so the idea will be that the business side of it will support me in my hobby. And if it grows to certain stages, which I won't bore you with, but there is a plan. If it grows to certain stages, then that obviously assists myself and my family. So but the main reason is because it's an evolution, if you like, of the inspiration in which I want to pass on to other model makers.
And how do you think you can make that inspiration sort of evident to people? What makes your site stand out and your offering stand out? Because as you said, there's loads of online stores, and we all know who the big players are.
Absolutely.
But big players tend to feel anonymous by
Yeah.
their very nature.
This is the thing.
What are you
You know, the whole purpose of SprueBox is a personal touch, if you like. So whether it's a good idea or not, is I will going to be the front man, and you know, if you've got an issue or problem that you want some help with, if I don't know the answer, I'll find the answer out and I'll be there to help you. So it's almost like an extreme level of customer service, i.e., I'm there to support you in the journey you make with whatever you buy. So it's not just a case of I got this really great kit, buy this kit, thank you very much. It's a case of build this kit. Here's possibly a way in which you want to do it, and if you haven't thought about doing it this way, do it that way.
So it's not just like for the experienced modeler. You're hoping to sort of attract new people to the hobby, or people that have maybe made something like I don't know, like an FX starter kit, and then thought, I'm really into this. Can I make something bigger or better or something like that? Is that where you sort of see yourself?
Yeah. So for me personally, as a modeler, I am Looney Tunes, if you like, about dioramas and stuff.
Okay.
And I hear on a daily basis where people say, "Oh, I build models, but I don't do dioramas." And you're like, okay. And most of the time, you tend to find that people don't do it because they're not sure how to, or what they're trying to achieve by doing a diorama. Because we
Yeah.
all do bases of some description for our models, but we don't call them. Not everybody calls them a diorama.
Right.
So with me personally, there will be some emphasis in some respect to doing dioramas in different ways, using different materials in which are free to hand. Yes, they'll be available through the website, but there are other ways in which you can do it. So, we spend an awful lot of time in the hobby looking at the shiny new things that come up and thinking that is the only way to do it. And especially as someone new into the hobby, they will be in a situation where they will see the shiny things and go, "Oh, that's the way," and
Mm.
follow. And it's not always the way. There are always a myriad of different ways of achieving what you want to achieve. So that's not to say that dioramas will be the be all and end all of the site, because that isn't the idea. It's just an element in which will be there. So, the idea being is you buy a kit, and then if you have some queries about the kit and how you get the effect you want, we're going to be there to support you. Uh,
Mhm.
we're setting up some things that aren't out there right now, but that will become a lot more plain in the process and offer, if you like, of the site.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, we're working busy in the background for that.
Excellent. I know recently I got some weathering stuff from you and some bits and pieces. I'm very excited. Got a set of AK weathering pencils. I can't wait to try them out on something. I'm
Yeah, good
desperate.
product.
What can I make look really, really grubby and worn and chipped and all the rest of it? I'm so excited to do that. The
Yeah.
thing that struck me was when I ordered it, you sent me an email saying, "Yeah, I'll probably send it out on Tuesday, mate." I think it arrived on Monday or maybe Tuesday. It was
Yeah.
so fast. I mean, is that something you think's important? Is that something you're bringing to it as well? That personal touch maybe allows you to do that sort of thing a bit more.
Well, see, this is the good thing about being a small business, is that the personal touch is really easy,
Mm.
because there's not hundreds of emails to deal with on a daily basis. So yeah, that is something in which I want to try and keep, because that's really important to me. I don't want someone to just think I'm making money as a business. Yes, that is part of the business. I'm not going
Oh
to
yeah,
lie, it's part of the process.
yeah.
Um, but I don't want you to, okay. So let's get it clear out in the open. So the site as it is right now, I don't have a room full of stock.
Right.
Yeah, so I put stuff on. I put specific stuff on the site that is available at the price it's available at.
Hmm.
And if you're um, tuned into it, buy it there and then, great. But those offers will change and they will differ immensely. So one week there might be, I don't know, let's say a 1/32 Fokker from Meng at a really good price,
Hmm.
but it'll only be on there for 7 days, or it might be there
Right.
for longer. Depends.
Hmm.
It's all down to what I can get hold of at what price. So
Well,
that's part of the thing as well. So because of that, I've got to be very keen to keep communication with everybody. So, for example, when you place your order, which thank you very much for, by the way,
yeah, my pleasure.
um, it was a case of I'll get that in for you and I'll get it out to you as soon as I can.
Mm.
So I'm very much a case of I'll order it in. There are some things I've got, not everything, but there are some things that I hear.
Mhm.
Um, but even if it's here, it's a case of I want to get it in a box and out the door as quickly as possible for two reasons. Firstly, it makes you happy, and secondly, it makes my wife happy because things aren't getting
perfect business options there, mate. That makes for a very, very happy business environment, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean,
So
communication is really important, you know, because
yeah,
you when you go online, you lose that personal touch. You know, you go into a
yeah,
shop, you'll have a chat, you'll talk about different bits and pieces, and that's sort of what I want to try and achieve with the website. Is I want to try and it'll be slightly evolved, but I want to try and create that model shop experience online.
bit like an online Aladdin's cave, really, for modelers, in a way that, you know,
Hopefully,
you go, if I go on the site in 2 weeks' time, I don't know what I'm likely to see.
yeah.
In some ways, whereas if you go onto a big store, you know that they're going to have the same September offers they had at the beginning of the month, and there's not going to be an awful lot of difference. So
The one thing
you
I
could,
find
you
frustrating
could
when I
be
go
like
on,
a little treasure trove of little, oh, I didn't know they did that, or that could be really exciting for people.
I mean, the one thing I find from my experience when I go shopping online is if I know what I want, it's really easy because you type it in the search engine and it pops up.
Yeah.
But I don't spend an awful lot of time trolling through all the products they've got
Mm.
to find what I want.
Yeah.
Very rare. And I think that's part of the problem because when you go into a shop, let's face it, how many times you go into a model shop, I'm going to buy some glue, and you walk out with a glue, a kit, some paint, and
Oh
something
yeah.
else.
Yeah.
It's because you're willing to browse.
Mm.
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a bit of an old fart, so maybe I just don't do the online browsing thing.
Mhm.
That's fine, but that's my experience, and I think that if you limit the amount of stuff you have on the site, reduce it down to products that jump out at me as, oh, that's interesting, that's something a little bit different.
Mm.
Hopefully, I can understand the customers' expectations and try and keep that going and alive. So yeah, you're not going to have thousands of kits on the site. That
Sure.
isn't going to be what I'm going to do. I'm going to
Mm.
try and reduce it to a selection that I think is relevant right now, or what everybody wants and
Mhm.
should be doing,
Right.
in my opinion.
Right.
Hmm.
That's not a bad thing, because at least you can back it up. Someone says, "Why did you do that?" If it's you think it is the right thing to do, then you can say, "Well, this is the right thing because I think da 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 da," rather than, "Well, I got a deal off the dealer and they did this and did that," and or whatever. It's entirely a business based thing. There's a lot more sort of human involvement in the process there.
Yeah, I mean, as I alluded to earlier, you know, there are things that are going on in the background right now that will come to fruition hopefully in the next few months,
Mhm.
where what I've just said will be explained a lot more clearer.
Sure.
Because what we're hoping to do is we're hoping to select certain products, and put them together as a package
Mhm.
to inspire you, the modeler. So
Excellent.
um, basically, if you're the sort of modeler that doesn't mind doing a little bit something off the wall or a little bit different, then SprueBox is probably going to be a really good option for you in the future, or even now, but certainly in the future. I've been talking to some modelers in the community and throwing some things around as to where we'd like to go.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's caused a little bit of a buzz, not a lot, but a little. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that's sort of where we're going to go with it.
I think it's a good point. I think it's a good idea that, for ages I got stuck 1/72nd scale aircraft. That's what I built. 1/72nd scale aircraft. Occasionally a 1/48th if I felt really quite adventurous. But having just made that Katie ambulance and halfway through the Gecko one, um, I'm okay. There may be neither of them are the best examples of vehicle modelling, but they do make you think. Actually, this is quite fun or quite different. Different scales, different subjects. Um, when we went to Airfix, I got given HMS Devonshire in a box. I haven't made a ship since I was about 12.
Yeah,
But
get
already I'm
that
starting to
shadow.
think, how do you do water? How do you simulate
Yeah.
seawater? Can I get the bow wave? How do I do that? What products do I need to do that? Do I get this bubbly stuff from Vallejo or there's all these different things. It starts going in your mind. And that thing about it's not just a kit, but putting the kit into a context through what we loosely call a diorama.
Yeah.
It's good. Again, with the FX Katie, that was my first diorama I made, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it. It's very simple, very basic, but I
But
really enjoyed it.
that's the key to it, Gary. At the end of the day, most modelers will want to put their model in a context of
Yeah.
some description. There are modelers that like to build a tank and put it on a glass shelf or wooden shelf, and that's fine.
Mm.
And like I say, that is fine. If that's what you get out of the hobby, great. But some people want to put it into a context situation and are scared to do so because they're not quite sure how to do it.
Right.
And it can be the most simplest process ever.
Mm.
So you know, that's something in which we want to tap into a little bit with SprueBox, and just encourage people to try it. Like you're saying, you know, you've got a kit of a ship. There's so many people that would look at a ship and go, oh, I'd love to do that, but I don't really want that sat on a shelf. I want the context part of it.
Mm.
And that I'm not the most experienced modeler. I put my hands up, but there are a few things I've tried, and shipbuilding is one of them. I've done one ship, and I've got 6 or 7 in the stash, I think, somewhere like that.
Wow.
And I want them in a context situation. So
Yeah.
when I did that, I made a base, didn't know what I was doing, watched a few YouTube videos like we all do.
Oh, yeah.
Found a way that worked for me. It wasn't what was on the video as such. It was a mixture of some bits, but it worked. So yeah, that's how I see model making. You know, it's all part of the journey. And if you, there are some people that like just to construct, they don't like to paint them. You know, they are there. And as I say, if that's what you get out of the hobby, that's great.
Is there are you planning to just to be very general in the sort of areas that you cover, or do you have like a favorite area or an area of kits that you think are maybe underrepresented, or indeed a manufacturer you think needs a bit more airtime and a bit more of a push?
Okay, so going back when I set this up, the aim was specifically to bring to market things that were unusual and not readily available.
Okay.
Unfortunately, some of those markets are no longer available to get the stuff out,
Right.
without going down any political views or avenues. So hence why we've been going almost a year and we're sort of bobbing along because we haven't done an awful lot. So a lot of the things in which I wanted to do, I've had to modify and change. So yes, there will be an element of that. I would like personally, if I can, to represent people that are not the market leaders. That doesn't mean they're not readily available. You can get them, but they're not necessarily in every single store. So there will be a bit of that, yes, but there will also be an avid grab, if you like, for the items that are sort of like, oh, that's a bit unusual, a little bit zany. And what we hope in the future is we're going to cross lots of boundaries. So at the moment, we are very much on kits, but we might go down the road of figures. We might go down the world of 3D printing. There's a myriad of different avenues. And what I want to try and do is I want to try and make all those different facets come and sit into an area where they all feel comfortable together. And that's and again that gives the customer the ability to be a little bit inspired, not necessarily looking at the Airfix and Tamiya kit as their go-to. So and plus also I think one of the other things with that as well is I mean, I've come across it myself. I recently, those that know me, I've been building a Hell Diver in 1/32 from Infinity Models, not a company I know an awful lot about, and a wave of emotion in different ways, whether it was good or bad. But those are the sort of things that I like to bring to people as well, you know, is to try and reduce the myth, if you like, of what companies are like and whether they're worth giving a go. So yeah, the whole thing is aimed at every skill level, and I encourage every skill level. But just the same as the Facebook group, you know, if you're new to the hobby and want to try something, then yeah, of course we all in that community will say, or you should try this because this is an easy entrance, and gets you sort of hooked, if you like,
Yeah.
and then go down different roads. But we're going to be covering all sorts of things in which, that maybe the average modeler doesn't do.
Has having the store given you a different perspective on the business, or modeling even, as essentially a retailer as well as a consumer now? Is there something that us as consumers, we maybe don't understand about the business that we've been complaining about for years? Now that you're a retailer, you say, well, of course, that's how it happens. That's how it is. This is a way around it, or suck it up. There's nothing you can do about that. Is there a different perspective that you've reached?
I think this year has given me different perspectives. Yeah, I mean, as yourself will be aware, our visit to Airfix, for example, has given me a completely different outlook in that area. As a retailer, I've never used that word to describe myself as a retailer. Yes, there has been some eye-opening moments, definitely. And I think probably one of the biggest, which I knew anyway, but one of the biggest would be the next time you go into a hobby store or go to a model show and you go to a retailer, is that the best price you can give me? Probably it would be, because
Right,
they A, want to move the kits, and B, they're not going to mark it up too much or too, and they must survive. So yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm saying that, and as I'm saying that, I can see myself going around some of the shows and thinking of certain retailers and thinking, well, yeah, would that apply? It does. Everybody has a margin. Everybody has a way in which they look at their business as to what they need to survive. So, and I think as a consumer, I think we are very much trained in getting the best bargain, and sometimes maybe we need to be a little bit more about, do we want to support people and make sure they're there next time? So yeah, that's one element, I guess. The other the other major element was when you sit in the garden, and this is a bit of advice for people that might watch this. If you sit in the garden and you think to yourself, right, okay, I've got something on my bucket list and it's really easy to sort out, I really should do it, I'm going to do it. Don't be fooled. Nothing is easy.
No.
I started this particular website at a time when um, uh, transportation of products went into a meltdown and costs have gone through the roof. We've run out of plastic. We've run out of supply. If you could think of a thing that could go wrong to start up a business, I've experienced pretty much every single one in the space of 6 months. So yeah, it's never again will I sit there and say, oh, it'd be easy, we did that.
But then baptism of fire and all that, hopefully, fingers crossed, things can only get a bit better from now on then.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the funny part is what I have discovered. The other thing, actually, on a positive note, I've discovered is our community that we have for model making is incredibly supportive. Yes, we have some dramas and all that. Let's ignore that. Generally speaking, everyone is there to support everyone and really, really friendly. And the retail market is pretty similar. There's not a lot of difference. Some of my suppliers have been amazing. They've been very, very helpful, even to the point where I haven't to a point, but you could potentially say that I've said to them, I'm a complete novice, got no idea. Help me. And they have.
Wow.
Not all of them. Some of them have laughed and gone, yeah, phone me back when you got some experience. But yeah, I've been amazed at the amount of support that I've gone into, because I did hands up. I did go into it very, very blind, and just thought, well, it's something I want to do, so I'm going to do it. And unfortunately, that's generally how I do things anyway. So I'm used to it.
Enough. You're running this store. You've got your podcast, Just Making Conversation, which I have to say I really enjoy listening to. That's fun. It's occasionally slightly surreal, but it's actually really funny. But you pick up a lot of really cool information as well, which is really good.
Yeah.
You've got the Saturday Night Crash
Yep.
that you've been doing, which is even funnier, which can be, again, even more surreal. Like, what are you making today? And where the hell did you get that, and why are you making it? That's cool. You've got your Model Officer YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You've got job and all the other commitments of life. The bottom line is there are actually 24 hours a day, and some of them you've got to sleep. How on earth do you do it? Because I've got one job, which is running a YouTube channel, and I haven't got enough hours. So how do you do it? How do you manage?
Yeah, I don't know. I've got a clue. No, if I'm honest, I'm very fortunate in that one, I've got a very understanding wife, which is always very important when you're
Always
married.
help.
If you've got a hobby and you want to do lots of things, so yeah, big shout out to her. She's always there to help me and tell me off when I've done something wrong. But anyway, that's what wives are for. With all the other things in which I do, I mean, the Model Officers Mess Facebook group been going for quite a while. I've got a really great team of admin. I don't overload them with an awful lot of work, but what they do and what I do works. So yeah, I suppose really with the Facebook group, once a month, a couple of hours, scheduling posts and stuff like that, as a high minimum, if you like, and then the rest sort of runs itself. The podcast I do with Malcolm Childs, and I don't know where he finds the time, given the fact he runs a charity as well as a household and all the rest, but he's incredibly supportive. And if I'm honest, I just rock up and say a lot of silly things and leave. So there's not a lot for me to do. I do the social media and all that sort of stuff. So yeah. Again, with the Saturday Night Crash, that's again the same scenario, the same idea as all the other things in which we've done, which is a group of 3 channels. So that's myself, Model Officer, Steve from Totally Scale Models, and Carl from Making Models, and we are true believers of a community. So bringing everyone together, no one is more important than anyone else, and the Saturday Night Crash is shared purely like that. In that, one week it's on my channel, the next week it's on Carl's channel or Steve's channel. Sometimes because of work commitments, it goes a little bit all haywire. But yeah, so we make sure that is shared. So we share the views. We link it within our channels to each other as well. So we're highly supportive of each other. So there's not really a great deal of effort between us, really. You got 3 people at the tiller, all going in the same direction. So it's not that difficult. SprueBox is the only thing that I don't have any help on, as such, because I was the mad person who decided to do that. So that's sort of my baby. However, with that said, although I won't name them, they'll know who they are. There is a very select key people that are in the background that are supporting me in many ways. The website's just about, well, it's starting to go through a little bit of a change. So hopefully for Christmas, you'll see a definite change, not necessarily across the whole site, but certainly on the front page. So I've got someone helping me with that. I've got someone helping me with like a group of people that are like my sounding boards of this is why I've got this idea. What do you think? How can I achieve that? What would you as a modeler want? Would that be right? So a great group of friends, and they've been incredibly supportive. So yeah, so the answer to your question is there is only 24 hours in the day, and I don't know how I'll squeeze it all in, but I've got a great team behind me who make me look like I'm doing it all, but I'm not.
Well, on top of all of that, of course, you've got the Walnut Challenge. That's something I came across. I know a lot of people watching this already probably know about that. Could have just tell everyone what that's about, because I'm seriously working on this one. I'm really carefully working on how to get what I in my mind into. Tell everyone about it.
Okay, so as part of the Just Making Conversation podcast that Malcolm and I do, we did an episode back in season 1 where we were talking about small modeling. So what I mean by that is, where you get a lead pencil and someone's carved a train and all that sort of stuff. Not stuff I've done. Got no experience or knowledge about it at all. I've been looking at pictures and going, wow. And part of the social media that we did, I selected a few pictures to sort of highlight where we were going to go with our conversation. And one of the listeners wrote in and said, I really like that picture. Where did it come from? I didn't take any notes. I just grabbed a picture and used it.
Mm.
So I did a bit of research, found out the modeler, had actually done a YouTube video on it, which, and you're going to ask me for the link, and I haven't got it, but I will give it to you, and it'll be down here
Okay,
somewhere.
I'll make sure it goes on.
Yeah. And that fascinated me. It was I didn't really look into it that much, but then it fascinated me. And then so I sent that information to the person because, again, part of the Just Making Conversation team is communication and community. And then this person ran off with the idea and sent us a picture and said, "I've done one." I was like, "What do you mean you've done one?" So he'd done a walnut. So the idea is, so yes, I've not explained this. So I haven't got a prop to hand, but a walnut. Okay, so it comes in a shell. The idea is you split the shell in half, take the walnut out, eat it, recycle it, whatever. You're left with two halves. And then you basically build a scene or model inside the walnut shell, so two halves can shut. And this gentleman built a Kuba wagon. He had the message he sent was, "I've got a spare couple of Kuba wagons." Like, okay.
Fair play.
So he built the Kuba wagon on a little base inside the nut. Desert scene, I seem to remember, or something like that. Anyway, so yeah, did that, and it looked very nice. And he did a video as well where he closed his hand, turned his hand the other way, opened the shell, and now the Kuba wagon's on fire with an LED lit. And we were just like, "What?
How?"
Yeah, exactly. Why and how? So anyway, so that made both Malcolm and us laugh greatly. And of course, me being the man of stupid ideas, said, "Let's do a group challenge. It'd be brilliant." So we did. So we challenged all our listeners to join a Facebook page, which was called the Walnut Group Build Challenge page, of which is linked to Just Making Conversation. We've got, I think the last time I looked, around 100, 120 people that are joined, and people have just gone nuts, literally. Got some walnuts, split them up, done all sorts of dioramas and stuff inside. They go from a barbecue, which I won't explain, but yeah, it does make complete sense if you see the picture, to a sinking ship, to aliens, to all sorts. And the funniest part is the most recent one is done by a person called Victor. Oh God, he's going to kill me if I get this wrong. I think he's over in Belgium. And he's actually done me and Malcolm in the studio in a nut.
No.
Yeah, yes. Brilliant.
Oh my God.
It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I love it because I've lost about 6 stone. And I look really thin, so it's great. Malcolm, on the other hand, looked quite short, but hey, you know, happens to us all, right?
It's got to fit in a walnut. What can you do about that? That's amazing. I have seen some of the builds on there, and a lot of things you look at and you think, do you know what? I could do that.
Yeah.
And then there's other things you look at and you think, no, I actually really do not know how they've managed to do that and still close the walnut as well. I mean, there is some proper genius, but there's also a lot of things, as I say, you look at and you think, I can have a go at that, and you do. So I am planning it. It's in progress.
That's exactly why we did it, was because we looked at it, and I'll be honest, when we decided to do it, because I said to Malcolm, let's do it as a challenge, come on. And he's like, no, that's not really a thing. So I Googled it. Google it. I challenge you now. Anyone that's watching, obviously watch this first, and afterwards Google it. Dioramas in a walnut, or model making with walnuts, or whatever. I guarantee you'll be blown away. Some of the models that have been made within a walnut are just outstanding. And to think it all fits in a small nut inside your hand. In fact, you know what? I'm going to find a nut.
Okay.
And there you go. There is a nut.
Yep.
This is a walnut. So you're basically looking at half a walnut, which is that size. You could do it. So if you're watching this and you are part of an IPMS group who have a table at Telford, if you haven't seen the notice, now's your challenge. The challenge is to get your nuts on the table, literally. We will be
Very
going
nice
around Telford,
James.
and we will be issuing a prize to the best nut on the table.
Excellent. I think that's going to be hilarious. I'm going to be up there myself, so I'll make sure I video everyone's nuts, and
Yes.
we'll put it all together. That's absolutely incredible.
It's the first time you can use that phrase legally in a video.
Yeah, since the injunction anyway, you know. So you still make models, obviously.
Yeah.
Is there anything recently that you're particularly happy with, or the kit that you're really happy with recently, or is there anything you're thinking, oh, get this out of the way so I can make a start on that?
Oh God, there's always that. There's always, I really want to get this out of the way because my next project's burning my back of my eyes out. At the moment, I've got the Helldiver, 132nd Helldiver that I have taken apart and opened up areas that shouldn't be open and added things that you really shouldn't be doing. And that's partly because I was challenged by a fellow modeler in my group who does that all the time, annoyingly. So yeah, I need to bring that to a close. Hopefully that'll be done this month ish, maybe, if I get time. There's lots going on. There's the K2 ambulance. We're doing Honour Thy service on the model officer's mess at the moment in relation to the Queen, obviously. So the K2 was being built for that. That's not far off from done, so that's good. Loads of other stuff. There's so much going on behind me. But what I really want to do, there's a couple of pieces that I've got in my mind that I'd like to do before Telford, so I can take them to Telford.
Right.
I don't know if I've got time to do it, but they'll be fairly simple, but thought-provoking. That's the idea. So there's, to be honest, I've done a lot of models recently. I've done very much dioramas, so
right.
I am aching to get to a diorama. So,
and finally, if any representative of any of these model companies are listening, and I hope they do, is there anything that you think, do you know what, guys, you should be making this because I know I can sell shed loads of them? Is there anything that you think really is like burning to say, look, God, why have you not made one of these yet? And this is the scale. This is the person I'd like to make it.
Are you going to hate me for the answer? No, is the answer.
Okay.
The reason being, I think the model companies do a cracking job. I think they're fairly on the ball. They're pretty good. I would hope they listen to the community because there's a lot of comments out there about what they want and don't want.
Yeah.
And if they do, if their researchers do their job properly and bring it to market, then I'm happy with that. The only thing I would say to any of the producers is, let's try our best to make the best we can. And you know, prices at the moment are a little bit all over the place. You know, manufacturing is a bit of a nightmare, as some manufacturers are finding more than others. From physically making it in one part of the world and shipping it around and all that. So I think they've got enough going on, really, than me jumping up and down and saying I want a 1/48th, whatever, you know. I'm grateful for the work they do. So, and then anything else, really, the things that I might want that that's not necessarily a kit, I'm going to hope to bring to market myself if I can.
Excellent.
So
Wow,
yeah,
excellent.
so yeah, no, I think the range we've got right now, model wise and model companies, is the most we've ever had. It's the best we've ever had, and certainly with some manufacturers up in their game, others obviously realizing that's what they're doing and making their products a little bit more. So everybody's sort of moving up the ladder in delivering something to us as consumers. And the choice gets better and better all the time. So the only thing I would say, as a personal thing, is British vehicles. We just don't see enough British vehicles in any scale, really. From you know, from the bigger manufacturers, yeah, you don't get me wrong, you can get them, You can get them in resin, and you can get them from companies, but you know that's a premium. So I'd like to deliver that to a lesser premium, if you like, for the more mass market. And then the only other thing in which I would say is 148. I've said this lots of times, and I'll say it again. I've always done 135th. Never really seen the point of 148. But now I've had a little play and a tinkle with it. I get it. It's, you know, there's not enough 148s out there, especially vehicle wise. So I'm hoping really that our manufacturers are gonna do that a bit more, because it brings the price down for the consumer. And they're getting a good product. There are some really cracking 148 products out there right now. Some that I've not seen the likes of before. I'm thinking of one particular one that's above my shoulder somewhere, but can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. But yeah, there's some really great producers out there, and long may that be the case.
Well, also with people like yourself, bring them to our attention, because you know we're all, as you say, familiar with looking online and seeing what Airfix are doing, what Tamiya are doing, what Revel are doing, yada yada yada. But there's this massive range of people who tend to do slightly off the wall things anyway, because they think, well, what's the commercial point of doing one of those if Airfix and Hasegawa and Revel and Tamiya already have one? What's the point? Why not do this instead that maybe they're not covering? And maybe I just get a feeling some of them are a bit more. I don't want to disrespect the people at Airfix, because we've met them, and a lot of them are properly enthusiastic.
Oh God, yeah, 100%.
They're also very commercially minded, of course, because it's a big company. I think some of the smaller ones, the ones that I commonly involve, are AZ or KP, where they do small run, low pressure moldings, and they can do really, really unusual planes. Maybe that's, we get to hear about the airplanes. You don't get to hear about the vehicles so much as well. So maybe that's where a site like yours really, really does help out by identifying these less well-known names and bring them. Look, you really want to try this, because this is a really interesting kit to make of something you may not have thought of before.
I think what we forget sometimes is that the modeling is a global market. So different areas have different things in which they focus on. So Airfix use the phrase that we'll always make a Spitfire because it sells. Which is complete commercial sense. Makes complete sense. And those things fund the other things.
Absolutely.
But as a consumer, we don't always recognize that, because the next time someone says, "Oh, we're going to do a Spitfire in 148," the reams of comments of, "Oh my God, how many Spitfires do we need?" Well, that's why, is because we need that to be able to get the other stuff that we want to. So, and let's face it, who doesn't love a Spitfire? But around the rest of the world, there are things in which that's a different market. And I'll give you an example of that. Parcel Models is a Korean stroke Vietnamese model builder, model manufacturer. They have a fantastic range that covers the Vietnam War. Absolutely fantastic. You can't get that sort of stuff over here. You just can't. It's almost impossible to find them. But they have some really amazing bits and pieces. And I'll give you there'll be a picture that's just being shown of what I mean. So I've just done an elephant, an Asian elephant in a jungle. We don't get those, and that's a pretty interesting diversion from the norm. So so that's the sort of thing that inspires me and inspires SprueBox. So yeah, the market itself is very vibrant, and as you look around the world, there is so many different things out there that we don't necessarily deal with, like the mecha side of things. That is a whole different market in itself. And once you start looking into it, it is a big hole, and you will fall into it. But that sort of things we don't see that often in the UK. I think we're lucky Really, really lucky. What I really hope is that the world calms down a little bit, and the shipping comes down an awful lot, and then
Hmm.
we can start introducing people to those elements of which they've not seen before.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time, James. I really, really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And I wish you all the very best with SprueBox. I know I'll be ordering more stuff from you, and I very, very strongly recommend anyone who's been watching this to do the same, to check out your website and keep going back to it, because there's new things all the time and interesting things all the time. And
Yeah.
I look forward to what the future brings from you.
Cool.
Your
Thanks.
plans sound really exciting.
Yeah, what I would say is, if you are interested, then obviously pop onto the website www.spruebox.co.uk. Subscribe to it, and there will be newsletters going out. Anyone that's subscribed to it already, I have only sent one newsletter out, and I appreciate that. That wasn't what I sort of said I would do, but things are moving, and there will be more regular updates. So keep yourself in check. Obviously, you don't want an inbox full of spam, and I don't want to fill your inbox full of spam. So I will try my best not to do that either. But yeah, there
Excellent.
should be a lot coming up in the next couple of months.
Brilliant. Thanks again, James, and really the very, very best of luck. Really do appreciate your time, mate.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
There we have it, the world according to James and his brilliant website, spruebox.co.uk. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope that you get in touch with James and have a look at what he does, have a chat with him online, whatever you need to do to get engaged with his vision for model making, because I think it's different. It's got huge potential. I expect to see him do really, really well with this. I really hope he does. So that's it for me for Friday. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the show, please remember, thumbs up in the box below. And do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Links down there in the bottom right corner. Click on that, subscribe, and also press the bell logo to make sure you get notified of new videos as they turn up. Do remember to come back for Monday Matters on Monday, and I'll see you on the next show. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you later. Goodbye.